It's a public fight that has taken a very playground bully turn for at least one side. President Trump has publicly aired his disdain for Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, ramping up the rhetoric in the last several weeks, calling Powell a, quote, loser, low IQ, terrible, very stupid, and very average mentally. In fact, this past weekend, Trump said he would love for Powell to resign and then added he wanted interest rates to be 1%. Trump's biggest complaint of Powell, the Powell-led Federal Open Market Committee's refusal to lower interest rates. Why does the president want interest rates to be lowered, and what would that do for you, the American public? Well, for that answer, let's bring in Derrick Kinney, money and business expert and author of Good Money Revolution. We appreciate you joining us, Derrick. Let's start there. President Trump wants interest rates lowered. Powell, in the meantime, was asked during a panel at the European Central Bank Forum if the Fed would have lowered rates if Trump had not announced his controversial plan to impose higher levies on imported goods earlier this year. So to that, Powell said, quote, I think that's right. So explain to our viewers why Trump wants them lowered and what it does for families, and then explain why Powell is not lowering them.
Joe, great to see you. First of all, Trump's message to Jerome Powell is simply this: either cut rates or cut bait. And here's the issue with interest rates. The lower interest rates are, it's sort of like this Lamborghini stuck in city traffic. High interest rates keep the Lamborghini stuck. Low interest rates are like smashing the gas pedal down so the Lamborghini can really go fast. Low interest rates cause the economy to go and grow really, really fast. It enhances people's ability to borrow for houses, borrow money for cars, borrow money to buy businesses, expand their business. Low interest rates basically inject an energy into the economy that causes things to grow. And that's what President Trump wants now, is for the economy to grow and not be slow.
Okay, so where do rates currently stand? Because Trump wants interest rates cut to 1%.
Well, rates are low, but keep in mind, it doesn't happen overnight. Now, are rates going to get down to 1%? Probably not. And here's the biggest reason for the hesitation. First of all, most people would think, look, why doesn't Jerome Powell cut rates? Inflation is low, unemployment is very, very low. Normally, the Fed chairman has even said, I would cut rates, but why isn't he? It's the story behind the story. It's because of the uncertainty on Trump's tariffs. Well, we've seen they've brought in record dollar amounts over the past 2 months. The problem, though, is can the Fed chairman base national policy on 2 months worth of tariff data? And what he's saying is no. But here's the deal. This is going to be a public relations war between the president and Jerome Powell. Typically in things like this, the president always wins.
All right, you just mentioned the D word, and no, not a divorce between them. Data. Trump wants Powell to resign. That might not happen anytime soon. When Powell was asked about a future rate cut earlier today, he said it depends on the data. So, Derrick, without getting too into the weeds, what data is he talking about, and is that data important for the public?
Well, sure. The data basically, first of all, means how comfortable are you and I as average Americans spending our hard-earned money? What does our personal economy look like? But also the biggest issue right now is inflation. We've seen the price of eggs and the price of gas and the price of bacon and the price of milk all skyrocket over the past year. Those have all come down substantially. And now we're also seeing unemployment is near 2.4%. Very low. Actually, I stand corrected. It's at about 4.2%. Very, very low by all standards. All of those would be green lights to say it is time to cut rates. The only reason why they're not. The yellow light and the red light issue is how long will the tariffs last? And can we count on sustainably tariff money coming in? That's the wild card. If we were to see that over a 12-month period, I'd be shocked, surprised if the Fed chairman didn't cut rates. Right now, though, the data is inconclusive on tariffs. Therefore, we're likely not going to see a rate cut as soon as the president wants.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up the trade and tariff issue because it's still just that, an issue. The deadline from the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs imposed by the U.S. on certain trading partners is set to expire July 8th of this year. Prices have actually risen on certain goods and services due to certain tariffs. We saw that about a month ago when the CEO of Walmart said, hey, these are going to rise a little bit. They're going to increase in June. You'll start to see it in June. That's what he told the public. Of course, President Trump saying you need to eat the tariffs, and Walmart evidently hasn't because prices have increased. What move, though, could the Trump administration make on July 8th that would bring some of those costs down for American families? And we should say gas is decreasing, actually. But again, eggs are decreasing, but there are some goods that people are still paying a lot more for because of the tariffs.
Yeah, this is sort of a split screen story, Joe, and here's why. First of all, if you're an investor and you own Walmart stock, for example, and they have to raise their prices, well, the stock might go up, but if it causes less people to buy things at Walmart, the stock is going to go down. And so this is where investors want to be very careful about, are you diversified in your portfolios? But keep in mind right now, the president has the loudest, most powerful voice in the entire world. And so if he can sway public opinion to his side and say, look, we don't want big corporations telling hardworking average Americans that they have to spend more money, that's a powerful message that most companies will say, you know what, you're right. We don't want to be the bad person in this argument here. But the reality is, will tariffs continue to bring in record dollars, and will it actually raise prices over the long term is yet to be determined. So if you're Federal Reserve Chairman Powell, you can't make decisions based on short-term data. They want to see the long-term data, and it might take seeing prices come up a little bit to cause the Fed chairman to ultimately move interest rates down.
And of course, Trump, a lot of people might say, well, this is political for him. It's not with Powell, but I don't know if someone's calling me loser, low IQ, you're stupid, low IQ. I don't know if I would respond to that in a positive way. So maybe be nicer, maybe. I don't know. Right now, the Trump versus Musk is a lot more entertaining than the Trump versus Powell in the public eye. Hey, as always, great insight, Derrick Kinney. We always appreciate you coming on and giving us great context to these public issues that impact American families. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Joe.